got enough members here for a voting quorum, and I appreciate you coming today. We have got 3 bills that we want to take up, and Wayne Allen, I don't know if all the committee knows. I know Mr. Morris does. If you've had the opportunity to meet Wayne Allen, he's a member of Legislative Council that helps and actually drafts these code revision bills. So I'm going to actually turn it over to him, and he can present the bills to the committee. At your leisure, preferably now.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm here on behalf of Representative Willard to present the 3 code revisor bills that we annually prepare. The Code Revision Commission is required by law to prepare each year code revisor bills for cleanup in the code. The intent is to be non-substantive. We always have 3 bills, one a general revisor bill. Then we have 2 separate revisor bills, one which covers Title 21, which is elections. We do that separately because the Department of Justice has to approve any changes in the election law. We also have a separate revisor bill for the Title 47, which is retirement. Those bills have to have a state auditor certificate, and if there were any changes in it and it was included in the general revisor bill, it'd make it a retirement bill, and we don't want to hold that up. So that's the reason we split the bills up. I'm ready to go through these in whatever you want to, Mr. Chairman, and however you want to address it.
I'd like to go over House Bill 142 first. I think that's your general revisor
That's
bill.
the big one.
We can probably make pretty quick work of.
Okay. And let me explain one further thing about the revisor bills. Each year after the session of General Assembly, we read every single bill that was passed. And one thing that our editors do is look for stylistic errors or obsolete provisions, etc., in the code. From those error sheets that we compile, we come up with a revisor bill. We particularly focus in the general revisor bill on volumes that are supposed to be replaced in the upcoming year. Each year the Code Revision Commission approves, they have control over which volumes of the OCG are to be replaced in the following year. They approved several volumes for the upcoming year. We focus on those in particular because those books have been sitting, they could be 6 or 7 years. Things have accumulated over time. We try to clean them up before the new book comes out. So that's much of what you see in here is cleanup of books that are going to be reprinted next year or this coming year. And if there are any particular questions, I'll try to address them.
I was looking through there. The retirement bill that will follow after one of these, it relates back to this general revisor bill. It looks like the Georgia Agorama Authority was deleted.
It does. The change in the retirement bill was necessitated by the fact that Georgia Agorama Development Authority no longer exists. The function and responsibility of that authority were transferred to the Board of Regents. And you'll see a corresponding change in the general revisor bill because certain portions of the code became obsolete once that authority was abolished.
And I did, just out of curiosity, though, I didn't know what that development authority, do you know what they had a little mission statement, I think.
Yeah, if I could turn to that. On page 4, they had charge of the Georgia Agorama, and you'll see that language being struck from lines 97 to 105. That's obsolete language now because that development authority no longer exists, and their responsibilities were transferred to the Board of Regents.
And that's what I was just curious. You didn't know what their responsibility. It just raised a question in my mind.
Yeah, they were in charge of their Agorama.
And you said that all the changes, even in this general revisor bill, there's no substantive changes to the law?
That's correct.
Just all technical
corrections. Or cleanup of obsolete provisions, as you see there on page 4.
Do any of the members have any questions for Mr. Allen?
I'll make a couple of remarks if there
Sure,
are no questions.
absolutely.
Just a couple of highlights in the bill. On page 8, you'll see the changes on lines 248 through 253. Line 254 explains those changes. The Georgia Supreme Court construed that statute. They read it and said, this is a double negative in here, and we're not going to read it that way. So the change is to conform to the construction of the Georgia Supreme Court in that case. The other thing I will point out is throughout you will see cleanup language relating to Title 53 in the probate code. Those are in there because back in 1996, the General Assembly enacted a new probate code, which was to go into effect in 1998. Right. The book which contains the probate code was up for replacement right in between the time the new bill was passed and the time the new bill came into effect. So we needed both sets of that chapter in the book at the same time. That's no longer necessary because the old code has gone away. So what you see with regards to Title 53 is cleanup and getting rid of the references to the old code. That's about the only things out of the ordinary that I would think of in the General Revisor Bill, Mr. Chairman, but I'll be glad to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions of any members? Is anyone here to speak on the bill? If not,
there was one amendment that the Secretary of State's office came to us with after the bill had been prepared, and you should have an amendment in your folders. And I would commend that to the committee's attention. We certainly have no objection to including that in the bill. It's at the wishes of the committee. But simply correcting an incorrect citation.
And this was at the request of the Secretary of State's
Yes, sir.
office?
The code section number is simply wrong in that reference.
And I reviewed the amendment with you, and I think it changed the necessary language that the Secretary of State's office needed.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If it's committee's wishes, well, I propose it be done as a committee substitute, Mr. Chairman. And work this amendment into the bill and pass it out as committee substitute if it's the pleasure of the committee.
Well, no questions. Nobody here to speak on the bill. What is the pleasure of the committee? We have a motion to incorporate, Mr. Crawford, to incorporate. What's your motion? Do pass what? Incorporate an amendment. We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, unanimous. And you can just take these in order,
Okay.
Mr. Allen, if you'd like. 143, House Bill 1.
Is that the Title 21 bill? I don't have the bill numbers with me. I'm sorry. Same issues as regard to Title 21 as were mentioned in the General Revisor Bill. This is simply cleanup, intended to be non-substantive. Again, we pulled Title 21 out separately because of need for DOJ approval. Unless there are any questions, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Any questions?
I can point them out to you. On line 10, compare that to line 11. On line 11, it's inserting the word "to" before agencies. That does not appear in the, okay. On line 14, it's replacing electronic mail with email, which is our style. Okay. And then on line 18, before the word Georgia, it inserts a single quote. And on line 21, it inserts the word "that" after "however."
I see. Thank you. I'm used to the underlining.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any further questions, Mr. Allen? If not, I'd entertain a motion. Second. Have a second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, House Bill 144. What'd you come for? What'd you come for? Well, I appreciate you being here.
I looked at these online and I saw they were just an annual Commerce Clause bill.
I understand, and I understand this is tedious and oftentimes considered mundane work, but there are people that put an awful lot of time in scrutinizing the code to bring these corrections forward. Somebody's got to do it. I mean, it is the way I look at it. And fortunately or unfortunately, we're the ones tasked with doing that. But anyway, Mr. Allen, House Bill 144.
Again, this is the Title 47, which is Retirement Revisor Bill. The first change, again, as mentioned earlier, is repealing the code section that dealt with the Georgia Agri-Home Development Authority, which no longer exists. The second change, that code section, when it was originally enacted, was written in the future tense. That date has now passed, so we're changing it to the past tense.
Any questions on this bill? Pretty simple bill as the others. If not, we'll entertain a motion. Any second? Got a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed? Yes, do pass. I appreciate it, Mr.
Thank you,
Allen.
Mr. Chairman.
We'll get those out. Before we, and that's going to complete our work, but before we adjourn, I did want to make a comment about, and I told Representative Pack and others I was going to try to get a letter out, but one thing that I'd like to do is offer up a challenge to anybody on the committee that would like to take it. We are required to take up these technical correction bills, which are basically cleanup bills to the code, take out obsolete portions and make grammatical changes and that type of thing, which could seem useless unless you're looking into the code and find something in there that's not up to date or current, which could be problematic. But this committee has got some pretty sharp individuals on it, and this committee is not limited to just these technical correction bills. I mean, anybody, I plan to get with legislative counsel, but any issue that somebody plans to tackle, I'm willing, especially if a member of this committee, I'm willing to hear it and have a hearing on it and work with you on an issue. But there's a lot of things out there that can be tackled. These are just the things that legislative counsel gets together and does as part of their job, and this committee is formed to be one that takes these bills up and passes it. But we could certainly take up a broader range of issues and be glad to talk with any committee member who has any desire to do so. But anything else from the committee?
Is there a particular scope that we ought to remain within? Because you ask a limited government conservative, is there something that he wants to do with the code? Well, you're opening up a can of worms there. But you want to go down that road.
Well, I mean, sure, of course, this committee is, like I said, for correction and that type of thing. But the Speaker places bills in committees that are germane, hopefully, to the topic. Sometimes, depending on what the history of that bill was in a particular committee, you see a bill find its way into a committee where it doesn't seem like the subject matter lines up. So the Speaker has discretion to stick whatever bill he'd like for this committee to consider. So that's what I wanted you to understand. If you had something that you were thinking about researching or delving into, I'd be glad to talk with you about working on it with you, or definitely if you need a forum for it to come through, we could request that it be placed in this committee.
Is there a better chance of it passing this committee?
Yeah, well, it depends on what the nature of the bill is, but yeah, of course, if you're on this committee. If there's nothing else, then we will stand adjourned. I appreciate you coming by today. Thanks.